as we can see, it's very clear to any outside observer that the attitude of China and Russia to Bush and Blair's invasion of Iraq was very surprising. In fact, very measured as to their response, and it goes without saying that flip the coin the other side. If in fact China or Russia had done in Iraq what Bush and Blair have done, then we would be well into World War III, and people know this. So that gives you an understanding of the seriousness of the decision that Bush and Blair took in invading a defenceless, impoverished country who all it had available to sustain itself, essentially, and its population was oil. Let's turn our attention, if we could, to the so-called Bush War against terrorism. Ever since I was a boy, the United States and the Western world have been convincing us of a so-called the threat of worldwide communism. And as we could see in what happened in Vietnam, this was supposed to be a war against the onward march of communism worldwide. People don't understand and don't realise this, but the entire Vietnamese War was a set-up. The CIA set explosives in a Chinese junk or a Vietnamese junk out in the open sea, alleged to have been set off by North Vietnamese. So therefore the United States was entitled to invade Vietnam. And the war lasted years. 3 million Vietnamese people died. Untold hundreds of thousands of US servicemen died. So then we come forward to the 90s and the fall of the Berlin Wall and the disintegration of the former USSR. And of course, when this happened, the threat of worldwide communism no longer existed. So we had to have a replacement for that, and Bush and Blair and the rest of them have seen it as appropriate to now be threatening us day in, day out, continuously, with this so-called war against terrorism. What is important to note is that lesser countries have never expressed any undue concern about any terrorist threat. We could name dozens of them. How often do you hear of Sweden or Norway, Holland, Vietnam, Malaysia, Singapore complaining about a terrorist threat? And how ridiculous is it to have the most powerful nation in the world trying to allege that the United States is under threat, direct military threat to the welfare of its people, its citizens and the country by terrorists. So the truth of the matter is that when it comes to the war against terrorism, as we've seen in Iraq, terrorism is the tool of the powerful states, such as the United States, such as Israel in Palestine. They have the means, they have the weapons to inflict the required levels of death and destruction which individuals, you and me, Osama bin Laden, doesn't matter who it is, we don't have those sorts of capabilities at our disposal to inflict the sort of damage that we've seen happen. So it's quite clear that terrorism is not the tool of the underdog, not the tool of the individual, it's tools of the superpowers. tools of the US, tools of Russia. Look at the extent of terrorism inflicted by Russia on the people of Chechnya.